the man who killed Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd is in the country illegally. Not only is he in the country illegally, but there have been ample opportunities over the last decade plus of him breaking the law in a country that he's in illegally, that if we were not a sanctuary state, he would have been sent back to Mexico by ICE. So this actually is something that was confirmed by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which I was glad to see, that they were actually sending out an email with all the pertinent information about the suspect in this case, Raul Benitez Santana. Again, he's under arrest for vehicular homicide, accused of being high and drunk when he slammed into the back of 27-year-old Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd, who was pulled over on the side of the road doing a DUI enforcement, father of a 2-year-old, had only been with WSP for 2 years. So this is all from ICE. It says, we placed an immigration detainer with the Snohomish County Jail on March 4th for Benitez Santana, who's a citizen of Mexico, currently being held on charges related to vehicular homicide. Santana is a citizen of Mexico unlawfully present in the U.S. He entered the U.S. at an unknown date and time, without admission or parole by an immigration officer, and was first encountered by ERO Seattle on October 28, 2013, at the South Correctional Entity in Burien, following his arrest for failure to appear for driving while his license was suspended. And then they list some of the known encounters he has had with law enforcement since he's been here. I'll also tell you, by the way, there is some indication that his criminal history perhaps goes back to as early as 2006, but here's what we know of. May 3rd, 2013, Linwood Municipal Court, driving while license suspended or revoked. May 16th, 2013, Linwood Municipal Court, marijuana possession of 40 grams or less, sentenced to 90 days incarceration with 87 days suspended. October 6, 2014, SeaTac Municipal Court, driving while license suspended or revoked, sentenced to 90 days incarceration with 85 days suspended. May 24th, 2019, King County Superior Court, domestic violence assault, no sentencing information available. Now, if we were not a sanctuary state, how would this work? Well, if we weren't a sanctuary state, what would happen is particularly when it comes to a domestic violence assault, you would have the jail or the local agency that picked him up realize this is a non-citizen who is not in this country legally. They'd contact ICE. They would coordinate with ICE to make sure that, let's say he's spending a month in jail, that the day that he gets out, ICE is waiting for him. They take him into custody. They bring him to the federal detention facility where individuals who are scheduled for deportation are held, and then he's kicked out of the country. Because 1, he's here illegally, and 2, he's here illegally breaking the law. That makes sense. This is the stupidity of the immigration debate. This is a country built on immigrants. This is a country where Lady Liberty says, give us your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. We should be proud of that as a country, that this is a place where people want to come. And if they want to go through the difficult process of coming to this country legally, if they want to go through the difficult process of seeking asylum here legally, fleeing whatever ills from their home country, we should welcome that. We do welcome that. But there should be a big red line between those people and the people who come here illegally and repeatedly break the law over and over and over and over. There should be no sanctuary for them because they're not creating a sanctuary for everyone else. They're allegedly beating people like domestic partners. They're not following the laws on our roadways. And they are eventually, some of them, killing people, whether it's Lake and Riley in Georgia or whether it's a 27-year-old state patrol trooper, a father and a husband who was out there doing his job to keep the community safe. I get what was the sentiment around the sanctuary city and sanctuary state conversation to a certain extent. One of the concerns, if you are in a state where law enforcement suspects, oh, hey, I pulled over someone, he looks Hispanic, let me ask him if he's an illegal immigrant. I understand not wanting to do that. I understand not wanting to create an environment where people who have come here illegally are afraid to cooperate with law enforcement if they're the victim of a crime, if they've witnessed a crime. If you're in this country illegally, you shouldn't be. You should have gone through the process like thousands and thousands of other people do, and you should have come here legally. But if you're not breaking the law here and you witness a crime, I want you to feel like you can call 911 for help if you've witnessed or are the victim of a crime. And that they will come and they will help you, or they will help the person who's been victimized, who you're trying to help, without fear of deportation. I get that, I do. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about sanctuary policies that have created an environment that are providing sanctuary to criminals, to dangerous, violent criminals. And some people were saying when it was pointed out that this is an illegal immigrant, oh, well, how could it have been prevented? I just laid it out. What the sanctuary policies say is essentially there can't be cooperation between local jurisdictions and ICE. Seattle police aren't going to turn over an illegal immigrant to ICE. The jails can't call up ICE and say, hey, we've got someone, booked on attempted murder and looks like they're in the country illegally. Come and get them. They can't do that because woke ideology says, oh, you can't do that. Common sense says we absolutely should be doing that. And you can have all of these things exist at once. You can make sure that police aren't out there just harassing people about their immigration status, making them feel uncomfortable and making them feel like I can't call 911 if I'm the victim of a crime or if I witness a crime. But sure as hell, if you've got someone who has committed a crime and you've got them in custody and they are in this country illegally, there is no common sense reason in the world why you do not turn that person over to ICE where they can decide how fast can we get them out of here. What is controversial about that? This trooper would be alive today, and it is far from the only example of that. If we can't agree that we should remove people from the country who came here illegally, who are breaking our laws, who are victimizing our citizens, what the hell can we agree on? That is an insane ideology to continue to cling to. And it's all or the other. Oh, you hate people who are from different countries. You're a bigot, whatever it is. That's not what this is about. No one with an ounce of common sense believes that that's what this is about. I will say, Cairo 7, again, I said, we think perhaps his criminal history, Benitez Santana, goes back further than 2013. Cairo 7 says, in a court case, Benitez Santana, long history of speeding. In 2012, he was caught driving 11 miles over the speed limit. 3 years later, he was cited for driving too fast for conditions. 2020, he was clocked at 49 miles over the speed limit. So he's continued to get away with these things as an illegal immigrant. And we already know that he was flying, according to a witness, going possibly as much as 100 miles an hour when he slammed into the back of that state trooper. Well, yeah, he's gotten away with this kind of behavior, escalating gradually since he came into the country at an unknown period in time. And our friend David Rose over at Fox 13 says he's doing a deep dive into his criminal history, and he believes it goes back to 2006 in Washington state. I will also say the kid gloves that some of the members of the media in Washington in Seattle in particular, are handling this guy with is insane. I was in TV for a long time, 10 years. And I understand that, generally it was the policy, we don't name someone, we don't show their face until they've been charged with a crime, officially charged with a crime. But there were always exceptions to that. There were always exceptions to that in notable cases. And one of the reasons we did that in the first place is, hey, we want to make sure that it's not like a case of mistaken identity. Picked up the wrong person, and now all of a sudden their face is blasted all over TV and their name, and then charges are dropped a day later, and it's like, oh, oops, sorry about that. But this is not one of those cases. He was at the scene. We know he did it. He's already said he was high and drunk. We know he did it. I get it. Innocent until proven guilty. Allegedly, whatever it is. We know he did it. It was fascinating to watch how the 4 major TV stations in Seattle, how differently they covered his first court appearance. Let's see. Let's look at all of them. Como News, King 5, Cairo 7, Fox 13. Como News and King 5 blurred out his face entirely. There's no reason for that. Hiding the guy's face. There's no need to hide his face. Look at it. It's freaking all bloodied up. Because that's what happened to him when he slammed into the back of Trooper Gadd's vehicle. And of course, it's always the criminal who survives. You see that in DUI crashes all the time. It's always the criminal who walks away relatively unscathed and the innocent person who dies. So credit to Cairo 7 and Fox 13. I know both of them have said that he is illegal and have shown his face. I mean, come on. We can find, there is so much space here to come to a common sense way of dealing with the immigration crisis. There is so much room for common ground. I've talked about it at the national level. Dreamers, give them citizenship today. Today. Both sides say they want to, but they love using them as political pawns and wedge issues in an election year. They should be ashamed of themselves. There should be so much agreement on securing the border and then improving our system to make sure that we can process more quickly legitimate asylum claims and that we can process more quickly the path towards citizenship for people who want to undergo that process legally. Everyone else, stay out unless you want to follow our rules and come in a legal way. This is not, I would bet 90% of the population agrees on that. But we can't do it because we put these politicians in office who care more about their political party. They care more about winning elections. They care more about being able to use things against the other party than they do about saving lives, securing our country, doing what's right. It's sickening, genuinely sickening. And don't, Trooper Gadd's death, murder, it is a tragedy, would have been a tragedy regardless of the immigration status of the person who killed him. But this adds another layer of anger, of frustration, of sadness. It was fully preventable. At any one of those junctures in time when this man was contacted by law enforcement for breaking the law and should have been shipped back to the country he came from, it was preventable. And that 27-year-old trooper would be alive today. His 2-year-old daughter would have a dad. His wife would have a husband. And we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this. Shameful to every single politician in the state of Washington who has supported that policy, every politician in the state of Washington who has not pushed back about what's happening at our southern border, not only because of this, but because all the fentanyl that keeps being trafficked into our state, killing people on our streets, in their homes, in our schools. Shameful. Public servants, my ass. Every single freaking one of them's got to go. Unreal. The incompetence, the indifference. Like I said, sickening. Sickening.